Okay, next in our stop of PESTLE is social factors. The social environment is about demography, which means the statistical study of human populations. For example, gender, age, ethnicity, religion, or education. Now, frequently you'll be dealing with national data, but sometimes for many firms it's going to be local data or international data that's going to be more important for them. So for that, I'd like you to think about some of the local differences that might occur around where you live. So I'll be looking at data for England as a whole, but also Waltham Forest, where I work, and Norfolk. Why Norfolk? Because a couple of years ago, the A-level EdExcel examiners wrote a question about an ice cream firm, very small ice cream firm, that only operated in Norfolk. So I'd just like you to think for a few seconds about your local environment. What proportion of people are in the young age band, 0 to 15, or old people like me, 65 plus, I'm not 65. Of the people that you see, how many do you think you were born in England? How many are of Asian or Asian British background, or Black African or Afro-Caribbean or Black British backgrounds? What about white British? Religiously, what percentage of people do you think in the UK are Muslim? And finally, what proportion of deaths, because I'm preparing this in the COVID crisis, in your area are down to COVID? Because that is going to have an implication on individual firms. So if you look at the data for England as a whole, just under 1 in 5 people are young, 1 in 5 people are old. That means 3 in 5 people are in the 15 to 64 age band. 90% of people in England were actually born in the country. Now remember, that would include children of migrants who are actually born in the UK and England. Only 8% of people are of Asian or Asian British background. It's about 1 in 12. Only 3.5% are Black African, Afro-Caribbean or Black British. That's just over 1 in 30. 1 in 20 people are Muslim. Now let's look at Waltham Forest. In Waltham Forest, because we have a lot of migration, it tends to be young families. So young families means we're going to have more 0 to 15-year-olds, but only half as many older people, 65 plus. Only 1 in 11 people in Waltham Forest is from that particular demographic. 90% of people in England were born in England. Only 63%, that's less than 2/3 of people in Waltham Forest. Remember, that doesn't include people who were the children of migrants who were actually born in the UK. 21% of an Asian or Asian British background compared with 8%. 17% of Black African, Afro-Caribbean or Black British compared with 3.5%. 22%, that's more than 1 in 5 people in Waltham Forest are Muslim, 1 in 20 in England as a whole. Now that last figure, about 2/5 of the deaths that have occurred in Waltham Forest in March and April 2020 are down to COVID, 2/5. And again, we'll compare that with a place like Norfolk. Now, the first thing for Norfolk that I'd like you to look at is the number of 65 plus year olds, number of old people. 25%. There's nearly 3 times proportionately as many old people in Norfolk as there are in Waltham Forest. Very, very, very British, very, very white British. 93% of people in Norfolk were actually born in England, 63% in Waltham Forest. Very few Asians, less than 1/5 of the national average, and 1/15 roughly of the Waltham Forest average. Similarly, Black Afro-Caribbeans, 3% in England as a whole, 3.5%, 17% in Waltham Forest, only 1 in 200 people in Norfolk. So unless you've got a particularly good niche market, it's unlikely that you'd set up a hairdressers that's going to do Afro-Caribbean styles. 0.6% Muslims, that's 1 in every 167 people. In Waltham Forest, it's between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5. And COVID deaths, very, very, very few. So how does this affect business? Well, in Waltham Forest, we have a lot of young people. So we're going to find childminders and nurseries set up. We're going to find more fast food shops because that's what young people want. Whereas in Norfolk, you're going to find more perhaps chiropractors because old people's bones ain't what they used to be. If you look at the Waltham Forest population in terms of Asian or Asian British or Muslim, that's going to affect things like butchers. They are going to be halal. Go down the road to Stoke Newington, where there's a high Hasidic Jew population, and it's going to be kosher food that they're going to focus on. There's going to be localization by large firms as well. When we hit an Asian religious-based festival, you're going to find that shelves in the local Tesco are going to be selling Eid-related products or Diwali-related products for Hindus. You're not going to find that in Norfolk. Now, finally, on the next slide, we're going to be looking at a firm that's set up in the middle of the COVID crisis in Woodford, which is next door to Waltham Forest. Now, I'd like you to particularly think, why did it set up in Woodford? Why not Norfolk? Have a look at those death rate figures and you'll see why. This photo contains an awful lot of business concepts and concepts related to demographics. It's of a firm that opened up on the 24th of May 2020. Why is that important? Because it was 1 week before the government eased up on lockdown. So schools started to reopen on the 1st of June, and similarly there were going to be more people travelling into work. The people that set this firm up are relatively young, they're in their mid-20s, and you will note they spotted the gap and they're trying to exploit the gap. Note this is the UK's first fashionable face mask vending machine. Location, well, it's in Woodford, East London. Why Woodford? Because of our high COVID-related death rates. It's next to a station, again hitting the commuters, so there are going to be more people. They're going to be concerned about the spread of coronavirus. It's next to a minicab firm. Again, you can see how they're trying to hit that particular market. Lots of people are going to be travelling in minicabs, so there's a danger that they might be able to pick up COVID. The distribution. Well, this particular machine will only take contactless payments and trying to reduce that fear, trying to reduce the risk. Target market and USB, well, have a look at those pictures. Young people who don't just want any old face mask, they might be inclined to buy a fashionable face mask. That's going to be their USB. Pricing, so why now? Well, obviously demand for face masks is going to be relatively high, so they're going to be able to charge a high price. Fashionable, maybe they can start to move into premium pricing. However, there are a lot of face masks on the market, so they can't rip off customers. So all of these things are going to be linked. Now, one of the things that I can guarantee is that on the 24th of March 2021, this firm would have shut down. So they would have steamed into the market, made a profit, and then steamed out again. Very good entrepreneurial and business practice. Let's look at one of the drier aspects of the social environment, migration. Migration is a movement of people between countries. So people come into Britain, people leave Britain. Generally speaking, we've had more people coming into the country than leaving over the last 20 years or so. So that will increase the supply of labour for business. We've been a member of the EU for many, many, many years. And within the EU, there's free movement of labour between member states. So people could basically work where they wanted. Obviously, that is going to change. So for application, there are particular firms or industries that are going to be particularly affected. So an awful lot of coffee shops and restaurants, the waiters often come from Western Europe, places like France. There's a lot of baristas from France. The NHS, a lot of the workers come from abroad. Builders, often associated with Eastern Europe these days. Football, again, look at the number of top stars that come from abroad. One of the big demographic changes that's been occurring over quite a long time now is the ageing of the population. There are more old people. I want to get a few examples of how that might affect firms. There's been an increase in the number of grey surfers. That statistic, 60% of people, 3/5 of people aged 75 or above use the internet, but only a quarter of the 75 plus is use it for social media, your WhatsApp, your Facebook, your Instagram. So that's going to affect firms as to where they place their adverts. Well, as a contrast, 90% of 16 to 24-year-olds regularly use the internet for communications, entertainment and social media. What the other 10% do, I haven't got a clue. But only 42% regularly buy off the internet. So again, think about how that's going to affect firms. Well, two ways really. One, perhaps they're trying to build up interest for special occasions, birthdays, where people might be prepared to spend a lot of money for them. Or alternatively, perhaps firms might be trying to build up their long-term brand image so that when these young people get a bit of money, they're going to think about those firms. With the ageing of the population, there's been increased health awareness. So therefore, there's going to be increased demand for things like gyms for older people and health foods. Similarly, of course, it might allow the building up of differentiated niche markets. So there's been an increase in high protein products for people who want to bodybuild or other such stupid activities. That's really all I want to say about social factors.